Today, we are going to be going over what I think is really high quality 60 Grassy games. I have 4 games for you today against Falcos, so we'll go over all of them in one video fairly quickly. In all games, Falcos runs this in infection mix with Blood Clot, so I think it's a good opportunity to showcase how Blood Clot and Retribution fare. Now that they're out and released. So T1, he has Glide on. I can't, I can't flash him there. And I have no Swarm or anything. So right now the best T1 move is really just a Prot Shield. So it's a little bit of a passive play. He doesn't have a great early game either. And I define early game personally by like turn 1 to 5. Once turn 6 comes, to me that's you're entering mid game, right? So early game, he doesn't have too much going for himself either. This sequence of play, where I get my Storm Spirit out, when you think about turn efficiency, it's more optimal for me, like these plays right now, because, considering I have Totem, him trapping the Spirit doesn't make sense if he wanted to do that. It wouldn't be efficient for him. And he summoned that Swarm. I took 15 on my Spirit and assessed it. So really, it's like, you know what? I'm just going to drain that. I'm kind of baiting the tree here. And you guys are going to see this in the upcoming other 3 games we play. Basically, I know I have Totem, so me being trapped temporarily early on is fine for me. But he doesn't go for that tree. Rather, he opts to just get his setup. And with Falcos, classic Falcos is he always likes to get his setup out. His Pegasus is DK, always thinking like a few turns ahead, right? So fine move by him. I do take Abduction in this mix. Really fun spell. I really, really love Abduction. Even after they nerfed it, they made it like turn 4 or something, even though people just said turn 2. The way I see it is, it allows you to misposition your opponent, either misposition them or their minions, even if, and I've been playing with it, and you'll see in these upcoming 4 games, I have not like done an Abduction sync or anything, which is what people were complaining about in the past, but I do use it not to great effect, but to moderate effect to basically misposition my opponent or their minions. So here you do the classic after you tree them, you follow that up with an Ice Shield. Basically, you can force 2 BFTPs if they want to get out of it ASAP. I put out the Totem instead of BFTPing out myself, just to be more efficient with my turns, so that's not wasted. The Totem also helps a little bit with not getting stuck on this DK. And yeah, so he's got his setup down, which is pretty good for him, right? One thing maybe I could have done is I could have just BFTP'd the DK, swarmed it, or even stole it really. If I just SB stuffed it right here on myself. But the thing is, he has infection. You gotta remember that. The tree would have died in that case. He could have BFTP'd out, went like over here, whatever, infected, killed the DK, and did a lot of damage to me. So, maybe that wasn't a great play. The reason my minion positioning isn't optimal here, and he's able to kind of come down here, it's just a time-based thing, right? In these high-level games, every second matters, and you're not going to always be able to get the most optimal positioning at the end of each turn. So he goes for a good play here, and that was a Swarm misplacement. He's able to just drain it off very easily for himself. Yeah. Use a Totem to trap him temporarily at least. I don't have my ice shield or tree up or anything. I go to the left here to get a Pegasus out, you know, maybe a little bit of panic, you could say so, right? Suboptimally, I put the Pegasus here when I should have stood here and put the Pegasus there, because now it's kind of trapped, right? Yeah. But let's see. Let's see what he goes for. If I'm him right now, I can't DK the Pegasus, so I think that's a fair move. You know, you get rid of that totem. Here, I opt to just kill the Pegasus quickly there, but now it's like, imagine if this Pegasus was free. I could use it. I could, you know, potentially trap him again and then summon my own DK or something like that, and I'd have the Pegasus, and I'd be in a good spot, honestly. But the fact that I trapped my own Pegasus over there is really bad for me. So he uses Blood Clot here, which does end up actually trapping himself. I don't think it's a great spell at all. Probably needs improvement. I fucked that up really badly. The jump there. I just wasted a BFTP anyways. But I was hoping I could jump without having to do that. I use Abduction because right now I'm concerned that he's going to get out and kill my DK, right? So this way I can kind of alleviate myself from that. I mispositioned a little bit there, you could say, where now I can't just SS the DK. I SS'd him on the tower. Yeah, I'm just flying around a bit clueless as to how I should proceed. I stand next to him in case he infects, so he also gets hit with that infection. Now I have to bring out the totem just to kind of free that Pegasus, which was the liability I made early on. I do have Ice Shield here. I think, yeah, I mean, maybe I could have put the Storm Spirit like a little bit more here, right? A little bit more to the right, and that way he couldn't just BFTP it free like that. I don't think this DK charge he did on me here is that detrimental to me. This game gets really, really close in the way it ends. So, you know, it could have definitely gone either way. But all these games were pretty intense, a lot of micro. You know, the totem was stuck there, but I needed to basically elevator my ship back up. So I needed to elevator the DK back up. And this is what I mean by like micro is so important, right? Like, yeah, I can get this shit up, but watch my positioning at the end of the turn and you'll see why positioning matters so much. So I go here, this is an easy infection target and I'm vulnerable right now, right? If I just put myself like maybe here-ish or something, even if I put myself like here, honestly, if I put myself like here, even if he BFTPs me and drains me off, that's still worth it. I'll just TP right back down here, and now what does he do, you know? So me being that close in terms of proximity was pretty bad for me. So now he does a sequence of pretty risky moves. As you'll see, he lost his DK, so his win condition is like, it's very forecasted how he'll play. He'll play around DK, infection, and then if both of those win cons are gone for him, he'll use just Flesh Wound and Bloodlust, really. So he sacrifices his own Pegasus to do as much damage to the DK as possible. And this is a situation where like your little bit of micro matters a lot, right? I can ladder that over, But if I had the time, I could have just moved this Pegasus up, dropped down, and then charged him, right? But I kind of fuck up where like I'm on the Pegasus here and he can just bloodlust me off the map. So these little things that matter so much, honestly. Yeah, this game came down really close, and I could have definitely won it with just a few seconds of like better movement. But props to him, especially on this last play, as you're gonna see. So what he does really well here is he really understands basically time micro, where he understands that, okay, I have so much time I can get to one side of the map or another. You know, how much time should I spend moving across from one side to another? And he plays this really well. I think he only had like a few seconds left, but he was able to execute the move. Yeah, good game by him. Well played. Next game. So I go first again. Again, he has glide, so I can't do a T1 knockoff, so I have to go for a very similar play. And at this point, I think this is the most optimal sequence of play because you don't want to be in the open where he can just flush wound you because he doesn't have a great few early turn moves anyways on his end. So that's just important to keep in mind. Goes for the blood bank again. It's a useful minion, I guess, to potentially trap later on. It's not a horrible T1 move. I think a drone or something will be much better because it's something that I have to deal with, you know, right away. But a blood bank, I might not have to really care about it right away. Here, I position my Storm Spirit. I was anticipating that, you know, maybe he'll try to glide down and lust me off the map, right? But, you know, the Storm Spirit catches you. Sometimes it's hard to call, like, where they'll land. But if they bounce like this, you know, you can kind of place your minion here so he can't do that kind of trick. Storm Spirit is really nice, honestly, because it's like, hey, he's using up turns to kill it, right? So it's not very turn efficient for him when he gets trapped like that. But yeah, I think Blood Clot should definitely be buffed. Blood Clot is a spell that probably should be more consistent on damage. Maybe at least minimum. If you aim it at something, you like at least do like 25, 30 damage, right? As it is right now, it's not really great. Flesh wound too. Like if someone flesh wounds me turn 1, I'm just gonna jump in the water and pretend I got flashed off the map. You know, save myself 55 HP. Especially against these aggro bugs. This is like a semi-aggro bug, right? His mid game is incredibly aggro. With Lust, Infection, you know, he'll just rush you down really hard if you let him. So you gotta be careful, man. I fucked the shock bomb up. I wanted to kill his blood bank and just damage him, but I hit myself for like 50 or whatever. It's just, I don't know how much I hit myself for. Maybe it wasn't the full 50, but it was a decent amount. Only good news is I didn't hit the bank, which might just keep his HP low for me, you know. But he can always like infect with that bank and he can get that HP back later. So it's not a big boon for me personally. So I bring out the DK. Like, what is he gonna do here? And he puts out the Retribution. Now, this is kind of tricky because you can't just charge at him. If you charge at him, the DK is gonna get stunned. I think it'll do like maybe 25 damage or something, and then it just outright gets stunned. So really, you have to play around it. You have to go back to more setup type of play. And it can definitely be strong, right? It's just a matter of playing around it. What is the T1 for Retribution? Oh, Blood Bank. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, he's lusting it. You know, he has a great way to just kill the DK with Retribution. You know, without a care in the world that I'm gonna do anything. I put up the Shock Shield, and I decide to just retrap him because I'm okay with him potentially lusting again or something like that. That drain helped me escape, which is nice. I'm going to position my DK, try to make it go as right as possible so I can potentially trap him, and then just get a Prot Shield out. So he opts to just swarm, steal, and you know, I don't know if that's a very efficient move on his end, right? But I drain it there. He has to BFTP out, but he's still stuck, which is great for me that I still have that DK threat. Now, here's a play where I could have made. I could have SS'd it from this side, right? Put the swarm on the left here and then shock bombed. And I could have stolen his Pegasus to the point where he would have had to use another BFTP potentially to kill that undead Pegasus. But I shock shielded him from the left, which was a bit suboptimal, right? So I make sure to keep my distance so that I'm not in infection range. He opts to just kill the DK, get the HP from the blood bank. No, that's fair. And now it's like, okay, what's my win condition? My win condition is shock bomb, right? So I have to play my shock bombs really well, and I have to just rush him down with my swarm and everything. This trap here, I don't know about it, because it's like, he's gonna infection me. Let me just not do that. So I opt to just put the swarm in a safe spot where he has to use a turn, maybe like a tree or something. And now I'm just kind of going for the kill. The swarm's gonna be a pain in the ass if he doesn't choose to deal with it. He was lucky, I guess he counted turns. My shock shield went out. But this is something I can free later on with just a flash, right? So it's not a huge deal. And I just opt to go for the shock bomb. Get him down to 20 HP. He's in lethal range. With a lot of ways to kill. So here, I opt to not just go straight for the, and this positioning, I don't know, by his Pegasus. Like I was gonna use an abduction to bring it here, but you know, again, this is a micro play. He could have done better. Now his Pegasus is trapped. He has no active minions on the map. I don't go next to him in shock shield. I choose to go away from him in shock shield. Reason is I don't want to get bloodlusted, because if I get bloodlusted, I might be back in lethal range again. Right? I'll be like, especially with infection and whatnot. So he opts to just drain, which is fine. That's cool. And what I opt to do is I say, okay, well, my win condition is like shock bomb, shock shield, swarm. Swarm is a big part of that win condition. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place this swarm so that if he bloodlusts me or something and gets me to the water, the swarm catches me, right? But yeah, very, very quirky spell there. He basically queued. He had no like great move there, because even if you drain the Pegasus, you get to what, 70 HP or something. It's not going to do you that much good, honestly. I know I already hit him with a shock shield once, so he's at 40. If I BFTP him, he's at 45. If we drain, he's at 75. And then if he falls down, he's going to eat the shock shield. So that's game right there. So that was game 2. Definitely a more dominant performance on my end. Let's go to game 3. And either game 1 or game 2, game 2 I was able to use abduction a bit better to mess up his positioning, right? I think that's the real playmaking potential you have, since you can't really even use it in early game anymore. It's turn 4. But again, like in every game, we do the same sequence of moves. I have no real offensive capabilities early game, so I take this route instead. What he could do if he really wanted to, he could just tree me and trap me and take that route instead of having me compete on top. But I do have totem, right? And since I have totem, it's just potentially not a very optimal sequence of moves for him to do that. But it does allow him to have better setup. So there's trade-offs to both approaches. Here I opt to just use my Storm Spirit to basically trap him. And I'll just tank the 15 HP on my Prot Shield and kill his Swarm. So he messed up the BFTP there. I don't know if that would have even worked. Who knows, maybe it's too small or something. But just opts to kill that. Him not having bones is huge for me. It's just like, what does he do? Especially when I have a little bit of top side control over him. Again, this sequence of play is very strong. You go up, they flash out, and you impose a very skillfully positioned ice shield. You know, at minimum, hopefully you can waste a BFTP from them. That could have been slightly better, but it's whatever. So here, he's still stuck, thankfully, so he has to use a BFTP. That early game is where you can really waste a lot of their BFTPs. He puts the blood bank so that he can heal up. And I say, okay, you can do that. And I'm gonna opt to just get a swarm out. So it's turn 6. I think he could affect, which is what he does. So he chooses to infect me. Fine, you know. I was at what? I think I was at like 250 or some shit. Yeah, I was at 250 HP with 35 HP prot. So he did a lot of damage to me. Did like 100 damage or something. So now at this point, I have to kind of come back in this game. Thankfully, got the infection out the way. It's good to get it out the way early. He uses his Pegasus, so he has to use a BFTP to get out if he wants to really get out right now. So here I opt to shock bomb. That could have went really badly. You know, if that went really badly, it would have ended pretty badly for me. but thankfully it stuck. Here we're in a bit of a risky situation, but knowing I had Ice Shield up and he had no Pegasus, I could trap that very easily and kind of set myself up again, especially since the infection was gone. He can still get that DK out, but he's gonna have to get himself out and then get inside the Ice Shield. And I don't think he'll have to BFTP, but yeah, at this point, don't want him to set up again. So I opt to tree, and that way his Pegasus is trapped, and he's even more trapped now. But he does a good play here. Kills the Pegasus. Unfortunately, I can just shock bomb him, and I'm not worried about getting sunk here because he has to use a BFTP to just, you know, get out of the Ice Shield in the first place. So he's not going to be able to do anything to me there. So his Pegasus and DK are gone, and his infection is used up. So now what does he do? Now if you're Falcos, what you want to do is you want to rush me down because like what my only win condition is bloodlust and flesh wounding you. So I'm just like, okay, well, if you jump in the water, you can basically erase your flesh wound. So I only really took, what is it, like 20 damage from that or something like that. So I'm going to rebase, get my health back. I know he only has 2 win condition spells, or 2 win cons. I'm not really worried about that blood bank. It doesn't really do anything for him. I know, like, at this point, since he's used infection and DK, if this game goes on, he's gonna lose. Right. So he pops the glide here. You know, shout out to the glide nerfs, by the way. It's really, really a momentous type of change. Thank God. So I didn't even have to use a BFTP there. I'm able to just use Shock Shield. He was smart on his next move. He just TP'd here. I was thinking the whole time, can I summon a DK somewhere? But it's fine. Right now, though, I cannot engage, like, under any circumstances. He puts up the draw. I'm pretty sure he has no, like, BFTPs left. He has no DK. He has no infection. So at this point, even though he has more health, he's really losing the attrition war. So he opts to stall, but he doesn't have bones and to kind of help him stall, and he does not have he has no win cons except just like rushing me down right now, and I can control that. You know, if I get 2 prots on me, it's kind of game over. Get my health back a little bit here. I know he doesn't have BFTP, so he can't get out. So him summoning like blood bank and everything like that, it just makes no difference. I get my health up a little bit just so when I do rush in, eventually I can sustain that battle and I don't have to like move out again. You never want to go in, right, on someone and then they get you low and you have to go out again. That just means you didn't have proper control of the game. You didn't have the tempo you thought you did, basically. So here, he can't really make super efficient moves because I have totem. So even if he tries to tree or anything like that, doesn't really matter. I mispositioned the Pegasus a little bit so the aura is hitting the DK, but in every game you're going to make these like small mistakes every now and then, so it's whatever. I opt to not just wait for the totem. I'm going to flash towards it myself. I don't really care too much about his setup because he doesn't really have any offensive power. So as you see here, the totem basically negates the the tree he summoned. It basically makes it so like as if he just queued, right? So again, that comes down to turn efficiency. So I'm going to use my totem here a little bit and start digging away. And right now, we can go bat for bat, trade some turns, try to separate out his minions a little bit from him. So like separate his Pegasus at least there, which is something I want to do. Here I BFTP, I abduct the swarm into myself and then I shock shield. Just get that out of the way, and now he has to worry about totem, right? So he opts to just tree that that totem, but treeing a totem, you know, doesn't really end well for you. It's like it only buys you a little bit of time, but you can always just clear up more land later. So it's pretty strong. I opt to ice shield just so I can you know, because I don't think he has BFTPs anymore, so kind of forces his hand there a little bit. But again, as you see, that totem is just doing work, just clearing up all that land. See, I could be much faster with how I move. I think the way the game works is it assumes perfect movement with no lag time at all. So it's pretty impressive, not gonna lie. This is how fast I could move versus how fast like I am moving. It's like a potato. I have to just drain the Pegasus because why not? Probably would have been smarter to put myself here in body block. Right, so that because his priority is killing the totem here. He pops glide here, so it's on a 5-turn CD. The glide nerf was really big though. It made books like his a little more balanced, where they can't be as aggro early on top of being, aggro mid game. The aggressiveness in their book is kind of like diminished there. So I think it was a good change. Here I could potentially BFTP right here and get the DK down and win the game. But I'm just like, just summon a totem. What is he really going to do? What can he do, honestly? So he pops Retribution, okay. So again, it's turn 29. I still have plenty of time to win the game, even with Retribution in mind. And at this point, it's all about just kind of taking it a little slow, right? Not rushing into anything because I can't charge him with DK right now. I was going to put my Swarm here, but then I'm just like, well, he can always just stack my Swarm with his and, do all that. I put a tree here, but it ends up doing absolutely nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Just for decoration. So there's that. Not great. Not great at all. I could have also put the totem, maybe like right here or something. Just free up more land. Right? So he's like using Blood Clot, and he traps himself again. I really don't think it's a great spell at all. Yeah. Definitely needs a little more consistency with the damage it does. Not too much. Too much, it becomes overbearing. I'd say if you made it maybe 1.5 times stronger, it wouldn't be bad at all. So I freed a Pegasus there. And you guys can just see how Totem does so much work for you. Both when you're trying to stall and when you are trying to be aggro to close out a game. You're able to just do so much. So I opt to just drain these trees here, get my DK's health up. He's stuck, no tower, so he just flashes. Put the totem there, what can he really do, right? Not much. If he drains it, he creates a hole. So I help out the totem on top of that. So even if he does summons a Pegasus or something here, it's like this hole's open. There's just too much land for me to access him at that point. Tries to blood clot the totem, does not work. Even if it did work, it's like he would have been in DK range. So that game ended there. And last game, so in this one he got first turn finally. So we're gonna see how it works out when he gets first turn, right? So he flesh wounds me. What I want to do is I want to just jump in the water, pretend I got sunk, right? For 20 HP and then go like TP somewhere. Right? But I'm not able to just get to the sides without casting flight. Like I can cast flight and jump down here, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to use flight up so early and get that CD off. So what I'm going to do is instead, I'm just going to shock shield him. And he has to at least use the BFTP to get out if he wants to do that. He summons the Blood Bank instead. You know, very fair move. At this point, it's probably too late since I casted Shock Shield for me to go in the water, so that I'm gonna get hit for that full 65 damage from the blood, from the flesh wound. Again, tree when I have totem is like a bit suboptimal in my point of view. I can get out without using a turn, whereas he can't. I thought he was gonna potentially lust that, but if he did, he would have killed the other tree, and I think I could have gotten out with like a BFTP here. But I did have an ice shield, so no, I could not have gotten out. I think Bloodlust would have been a better play in hindsight. So here he has to BFTP if he wants to get out, which he can't. I open up that little hole, and he summoned his swarm, but you know, I don't like summoning swarm if I don't have good map control. Just because when you think about it, if you get it trapped, you can't summon another one. It's just a pain in the ass. So yeah. I get the DK out, and I'm very careful not to be close to it so I can get infected or anything like that. He tries to swarm my totem, but he hits his own Pegasus, and then he pops Retribution. Because why not? At this point, again, when you're playing against Retribution, you want to probably stall for time and just work on your own setup, right? Like if I stall 5 turns, even 10 turns, it's not that big of a deal, right? Ops to just kill the swarm there. That's fair. So he has glide on as well, which means I can't just, you know, flash him off the map or anything like that. But I do have abduction, and since I have abduction, I can mess up his positioning so that I have a better ice shield play. So now his swarm is, you know, trapped. Actually, I don't know. Maybe he could move the Pegasus up and move the Swarm out. Yeah, I don't think the Swarm is trapped per se, but it would do damage to him or his Pegasus if he tried to move it out, at least to the tree. So he opts to just free the Pegasus there for himself. That's fair. I'm a little worried about my DK at this point, so I'm just like, let me move it away. Right. Just keep it out of harm's sight. And just keep playing around Retribution, honestly. Make sure I space myself out to avoid the infection. And then pop the Shock Shield. My main target's going to be the Pegasus. And he resigned because he's like, you know, it didn't seem like a winning proposition for him to just continue. So he didn't like the book. I think just adding Bones and Gargoyle Totem is probably better for him. Would make his book much stronger, but you know, you got to try out new things. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all 4 games. Probably a long video, but let me know what you think. Thank you.